Imagine finding out that your entire life, your career, your wealth, even your relationship is like a fragile glass teacup.
Right, just a delicate little cup.
Exactly. And it has a very specific, predetermined volume. And if you try to pour even one extra drop of success or money or ambition into it, the cup doesn't just naturally overflow.
Oh no, it violently shatters.
It violently shatters. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring a really radical perspective on letting go of control, embracing our natural limits, and finding ultimate freedom in a world that constantly tells you that you just aren't doing enough.
Yeah, we're looking at a 2019 philosophical essay by Xue Feng. It's titled, How Individuals Should Conform to the Ways of Nature.
Such a fascinating read.
It really is. It takes these traditional Taoist concepts like ideas about natural flow and predestination, and it just crashes them into very modern, striking metaphors. I mean, the text actually compares the ancient idea of karma to a literal computer program.
Which is wild to think about.
Totally wild. So our mission today is to examine the author's 8 principles of conforming to nature. We'll be dissecting both the peaceful simplicity of this worldview and the highly provocative fatalism that anchors the whole thing.
Because it is the absolute antithesis of modern hustle culture. I mean, we are constantly sold this idea of the blank slate, right? That with the right 10-year plan, a habit tracker, maybe a good morning routine, we can architect any destiny we want.
Oh, absolutely. The whole you can be anything mindset.
Right. But this essay rips that control panel right out of our hands. Before we can even begin to understand how to move through the world, the author argues we first have to fundamentally rethink what we actually are.
And what we're inherently capable of holding.
Exactly.
Because the text is clear right from the start. Nothing is controlled by man. Everything is determined by nature. The essay introduces this concept of the container, and the imagery is pretty stark.
Okay, let's unpack this container idea.
Well, it asks you to picture a truck built specifically to carry 2 tons of cargo. If you load 3 tons onto that truck, the axles snap.
The chassis just breaks.
Exactly. Or take that small drinking glass we mentioned earlier. If you pour a massive roaring pot of boiling water into it, the glass cracks. The water spills everywhere. It's just a total waste.
And the physical mechanics of those examples apply directly to human lives, according to the text. Every single person is a container designed with a specific, predetermined capacity.
Which is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. And the author applies this to wealth, too. Like, if you only have 200,000 yuan in your pocket, but you insist on buying a 1 million yuan building, you're exceeding your container.
And the result is disaster.
Always. The text states explicitly that if you are designed to carry 80 caddies, which is an East Asian unit of weight, and you force yourself to carry 100, you'll just be crushed by the weight. Exceeding capacity always leads to either the container bursting or just serious waste.
Which kind of brings us to the beauty of natural contentment. Because if you accept your hardware, so to speak, you stop comparing yourself to entirely different machines.
Yeah.
The author writes that grass never envies the richness of a peony flower. Weeping willows never envy fruit trees for being heavy with fruit.
Because a willow isn't failing by not producing apples.
Exactly. It is succeeding entirely at being a willow. The suffering only begins when the grass decides it's a failure for not blooming like a peony.
That instantly makes me think of trying to run, like, the newest, most graphically demanding AAA video game on a 10-year-old laptop.
Oh yeah, the motherboard is going to melt down.
Right. And the crucial point is that the laptop isn't a bad machine. It's just not built with the hardware required to run that specific software.
It's a perfect parallel. The hardware completely determines the capability.
But hold on, how does that work in the real world? Because, ambition is almost universally taught to us as a good thing, a virtue.
Oh, definitely.
Striving for more is basically the entire engine of our society. So you're telling me the person with 200,000 yuan is fundamentally wrong for trying to hustle, get a loan, and build a bigger life? We're constantly told to stretch ourselves.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the author is arguing that this specific brand of modern ambition directly contradicts the lines of nature.
Wow.
Yeah. By striving to be the peony when you are designed as grass, you are refusing to accept your intrinsic design. The text goes so far as to claim that everything in your life right now, your exact wealth, your status, your environment, is a perfectly accurate result of your karma.
So, no mistakes.
None. The container you currently inhabit is the exact size it's supposed to be based on your past actions.
And the text gets incredibly specific about accepting that karma, too. It says, if you are eating coarse grain every day, living in a thatched hut, and wearing patched clothes, you should do so with a calm heart and a relaxed mind.
Which sounds peaceful, but also incredibly difficult.
Right. If you have a hard fate, the author states it's because you enjoyed too many blessings and earned too few merits in previous lives. If you find yourself in a situation where literally no one helps you, it's a direct result of being too selfish in the past.
It really requires a radical level of acceptance. You aren't supposed to worry, complain, or get angry. The author writes, if there's no sea to look at, admire the river.
If there's no river, look at a stream.
If there's no stream, just wait for the rain. It's all about finding absolute peace in whatever your specific container is currently holding.
Rather than taking the devastating risk of stretching beyond your structural limits.
Exactly.
So if we truly are these rigid containers with fixed capacities, then our modern obsession with trying to change other people, like our partners, our employees, or even our kids, isn't just frustrating, it's structurally impossible.
It is. The text emphasizes the sheer absurdity of making excessive demands on the natural world. It points out how ridiculous it would be to demand that your cat guard the house like a watchdog.
Or that your dog strap on a harness and plow a field.
Right, you wouldn't demand a rooster lay an egg or a sow give milk. Animals are born with a specific purpose and talent. Going against that intrinsic nature is completely fruitless.
There's a great image used here of a bamboo stalk. Swaying green bamboo benefits the mind. It's peaceful to look at, and the author says that is enough. You shouldn't stand in front of the bamboo and demand it bear red dates for you.
It's like standing in an orchard yelling at an apple tree for not giving you oranges. It's madness.
Total madness.
Yet the author observes that this is exactly how we behave in human society. We constantly demand apples from willows. And to illustrate how predetermined societal roles are, the text uses the analogy of a beehive.
Oh, right, where the queens, the drones, and the worker bees are all determined the exact moment they're born.
Yes. The text actually notes that the queen bee isn't chosen by a democratic vote.
Right, there's no election.
And a worker bee cannot become a queen just through sheer hard work. The author notes that a fly, no matter how hard it studies, no matter if it racks its brain and pulls all-nighters forgetting to eat and sleep, it is never going to suddenly produce honey.
The biological mechanism simply isn't there.
Exactly. And this applies directly to human roles in the text. Whether someone is a president, a beggar, a billionaire, or a thief, the author claims their role was decided long ago.
So if you are a commoner, you can't just hustle your way into being a saint.
Nope. Some people are natural leaders, and some, the text starkly states, are destined to be imprisoned.
Listening to this, it is incredibly jarring. We are so culturally obsessed with meritocracy and self-invention that hearing your life is completely out of your hands almost feels like an attack.
Oh, it really clashes with modern sensibilities. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the author roots this in the concept of Tao, which in this context is the fundamental underlying operating system of the universe.
It's the natural law that dictates the flow of everything.
Right, and when you try to fight the Tao, you lose.
The author uses this massive historical example to show how our attempts to control destiny usually fail. Qin Shi Huang, the emperor who famously unified China, wanted to pass his mighty empire down to his descendants forever.
He tried to engineer eternal dynastic control.
Yeah, but Qin II lost the power, and Qin III never even appeared on the throne. The illusion of holding power across time is just that, a total illusion.
And we see this resistance to the Tao deeply in modern parenting, too. The text heavily criticizes parents who desperately construct rigid plans so their kids won't lose at the starting line.
Oh, helicopter parenting.
Exactly. The author compares these helicopter parents to farmers literally pulling up seedlings by the leaves to help them grow faster. By forcing the child, you are violating the way of nature. You rip the roots out, ensuring the child actually loses at the finish line.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. And this leads to probably the most provocative claim in the entire piece regarding this illusion of control.
Oh, the relationship stats.
Yeah. When discussing marriage, the author states that people try everything to forcibly make their spouses loyal. And as a result, and I want to be very clear here, we are just objectively reporting the author's exact claim to illustrate their point. We aren't taking a stance on this. They state that 95% of men cheat and 95% of women suffer terribly trying to toss out mistresses.
It's a huge claim.
Massive. But regardless of the statistical reality of those numbers, the author is using this shocking claim to make a point about the futility of controlling another human being.
Because the underlying principle here is those who hold it lose it, and those who make it spoil it. The author views human nature like a flowing river. When a spouse tries to build a massive dam out of jealousy and total control, they think they're protecting their treasure.
But the water inevitably builds pressure and just violently spills over.
Exactly. Trying to firmly control anything or digging a moat around your relationships is whimsical and ignorant. You cannot hold on to the water indefinitely. You have to let it flow naturally.
So, if our capacities are fixed containers, and our societal roles are predetermined from birth, and trying to change anything is like building a dam against a roaring river, do our choices matter at all?
It's the ultimate question, isn't it?
Right. Like, where does free will actually exist in this philosophical system?
The author answers this by explaining the mechanism of karma. And they do it using incredibly modern mechanical language. They describe karma literally as a program.
Like an algorithm running in the background of reality.
Yes. The text says that karma runs in accordance with unchanging procedures for thousands of years. It is a strict input-output system. If you input a lifetime of evil deeds, the algorithm processes that data and outputs the destination of hell unless you manage to completely repent.
But if you input good deeds and accumulate virtue, the program will automatically feed back a corresponding result, which is heaven.
Melons ripen, their pedestals fall off. That is the natural law of the algorithm. When the conditions are met in the code, the result happens automatically.
So it's literal cause and effect code.
Exactly. The author advises us to simply be as good as we can, make dedications throughout our lives, and then literally not ask about the results.
Don't worry about the future, just trust the program.
Right. If you input the right data, the algorithm will run and arrange things perfectly.
Wait, if the physical world is this rigid algorithmic program and we're all just playing out our predestined container sizes, where is the actual freedom? I mean, where is the free will?
The author says there is exactly one ultimate escape, one single thing that the way of nature does not control.
Our imagination, the human mind.
The mind. The text calls the mind the free world bestowed by the greatest creator.
And in this philosophy, the greatest creator is essentially the ultimate architect of the universe's operating system, right?
Precisely. And while the greatest creator made the physical world incredibly strict, they gave us the mind as a total sandbox. In the physical world, a beggar is a beggar. But in their imagination, that beggar can be royalty.
A single person can imagine having 100 spouses.
A mortal can imagine moving the sun, or flying through the sky like a wild goose.
It is a true sandbox mode. The physical universe has absolute rules governed by the Tao, but inside your head, those laws simply don't apply. You can think whatever you want, and you will neither be punished nor rewarded for it by the karma algorithm.
Which raises an important question.
Yeah, how does that work morally? Because the text goes pretty far with this. It explicitly says that in your imagination, you can, have sex with anyone you want, or you can even imagine beating someone up, and it's completely fine as long as it makes you happy.
Right.
But wait, really? Doesn't imagining violence completely contradict the idea of being a purely good person who is inputting good data into the karma algorithm?
The author draws an incredibly sharp distinction here between thought and action, specifically highlighting the difference between motivation and imagination.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, there is essentially a firewall between the two. Motivation in this context is an inner activity that you actually intend to put into practice. It is the seed of a physical action. The moment there's intent, that data enters the causal karma program.
Oh, I see. So if I am planning to actually harm someone, the algorithm tracks that.
Yes. The intent breaches the firewall.
Yeah.
But pure imagination, that is an ongoing conscious activity meant strictly for self-entertainment. It has zero intent to manifest in the real world.
So because it stays entirely behind the firewall in the sandbox, it is never inputted into the causal program.
Exactly. It allows you to fly freely, completely unrestrained, without consequence.
So as long as it's pure fantasy like a private movie you're just watching in your own head for fun, with absolutely no intention of ever acting it out, the algorithm doesn't track it. It is completely off the grid.
It's the one space where you are entirely free from the heavy restrictions of your container.
Wow. Okay, so pulling this all together, the author lays out the ultimate stakes of this philosophy very clearly at the end of the text.
They really do. If you choose to violate the way of nature, if you constantly try to impose your own will on objective laws, if you try to force the universe to fit your specific desires, the result is catastrophic chaos.
And they don't just mean, like, a personal headache. The text links this human resistance to literal sweeping disasters: hurricanes, hail, drought, scorching heat, war, plague, and famine.
The author argues that when we collectively push against the natural order, the system pushes back violently
And on a personal level, trying to force your container to hold more than it can leads to deep inner anxiety, sadness, and constant worry.
because you're fighting gravity. You are fighting the very fabric of reality.
Yeah.
But if you surrender to the way of nature,
If you conform to it and never artificially try to change things, everything becomes harmonious. You will be happy with whatever comes.
and the ultimate reward, the text promises that Tao will reward you with a heaven.
It is a massive paradigm shift. It's asking you to look at your 10-year plan, your optimization apps, all your desperate attempts to control your career, your partner, your kids, and just put them down.
To recognize you are a specific container and to find absolute peace in just holding exactly what you're designed to hold.
It forces us to ask what we are actually achieving with all our striving, other than our own exhaustion.
Yeah?
Learning to respect our personal container sizes, letting bamboo just be bamboo, trusting the karma algorithm without obsessing over the future, and finding absolute unpunished freedom inside our own minds.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And to leave you with a final thought today, something to really mull over on your own, I want to look back at that inner playground we just talked about.
Right, the sandbox.
Yeah. If our imaginations are truly the only place free from the rigid laws of nature and the karma program, is our fantasy life actually our truest self?
Or is it simply a necessary pressure valve designed by the greatest creator just to help us survive the heavy, predetermined limitations of reality?
Are we the architect in our minds just so we can stand being the passenger in our bodies? Next time you catch yourself trying to forcibly turn the dials on that massive control panel of your life, maybe just stop, look at the weeping willow, and let the water flow.